works, we're gonna kind of say.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're live on YouTube.
Yeah, it still says preparing over here. That's fine. Nobody even knows it's there.
It says on my screen.
It says live on
now
YouTube.
Live on YouTube.
It does say live
All
on
right,
YouTube.
I'm gonna crank it. All right, guys, we are live. It's episode 2. Fuck it.
Yeah, let's hold on for a second. Let's share this out. Get people watching. All right, everybody in chat. Here's
Robert,
the
play
link.
a tune.
Yep. Robert, play guitar for a minute. There's
Rob.
the link. I just sent it in chat to everybody. Jen, send that to whoever you have to. I will do a post on TSM right now.
Jen, send it to my Facebook, please. Messenger.
Whatever. So needy.
She's gonna put it on AG Cup and AG.
I am.
Holy shit, YouTube works for something now? Crazy.
Wow.
Usually the opposite.
All right, I'm gonna put you guys live on YouTube, AG Cup.
Oh,
Hey,
look,
this is-
look at that. That's a terrible screenshot.
The couple minutes that I was goofing around on live, there was like 225 people. It's going to be a big show. We got to do it.
It's a really big shoe.
All right, well, let's get that link kind of rigged up to the TSM Facebook page because that's where everybody's showing going to be.
Let's see, where's the share now button? All right, I'm sharing it to the TSM page. Pinning it to the top. So if anybody that wants to share it, it's pinned to the top of the Shooter's Mindset page. Yeah.
As good
All
as
right.
it gets.
All
Let's
right,
rock and roll.
You want to go? You all right?
Let's roll.
All right, guys, we are live. It's episode 280 of the Shooter's Mindset. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Some technical difficulties. We're using YouTube here to go live. But, man, we had these guys waiting. We had a great pre-show, obviously. We could maybe a drink or two in. No big deal. We got a co-host in the house. Jennifer Seymour's joining us. What's going on, Jen?
Hey, everybody.
Greg Cannon's in the house working hard here.
Hey, everyone.
And we got a panel full of spros and pros here. This is going to be a good episode here. Hopefully you guys find it. We can get tuned in. If not, we'll always upload it to YouTube, Facebook, podcast. Everything will go in the next 48 hours. But the founder, match director of the AG Cup, Tom Filler's in the house. What's going on, Tom?
Hey, man, what's going on? Hey, everybody.
It's good to have you on here. This is going to be a great show. Got a lot of questions here. If you guys have the questions, I don't know where we're going to post them on the YouTube feed, but if you're watching on the YouTube feed, there might be some type of way you can get your comments in on the YouTube feed. Other than that, we'll try to get them out to the show live. Shooting USA. John Scoutten's in the house. What's going on, John?
What's up, Anthony? Thank you for the intro. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Jennifer, for pulling this together, dude. It's not an easy operation, especially first and foremost, organizing all 9 of us to be in front of cameras and be in front of computers and have internet connections and all of the above. But then work with the other side of the coin, which is Facebook / YouTube / however we get out there to the people. So I feel like you guys have done the yeoman's work and got us there. Good job.
Thank you. The winner of the annual AG Cup, Jake Vibbert's in the house. What's going on, Jake?
That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. You guys got to be big, man. I like it. I'm digging it. Once I heard about it, man, you got the fireworks going, the big check. You got your sponsors there, the big cup, man. I'm digging it, man. That's a lot. Congratulations on that win.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And who else we got? We got the king in the house, Robert Brantley. What's going on, buddy?
What's happening, dude? Glad to be here.
The king, we got an episode with him in the past here. I didn't do my research, but if you go in, search the YouTube feed, you'll find it with Robert Brantley if you want to know what was going on with him. I don't know, maybe a year ago or so we did that. Who else we got in here? Tate Streater. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Just trying to relax a little bit here and enjoy the show.
You got enough golden bullets to make it through a match, right?
Man, I had to borrow them, but yeah, I got them.
There we go. There we go. I'm just
Doesn't
trying.
matter how you got it.
Yeah, no matter how you got it. Exactly. Brandon Hembree is in the house. What's going on? I know I messed up that last name, but what's going on,
It's
Brandon?
all good. Man, it's good. Just good to be here and, much like-minded people. So appreciate you guys hosting us.
There we go. I think we got it. we got it going. I think I got everybody on the show. Show sponsors here, the folks over at GSL Technologies. All right. All your suppressor needs, tactical side, the big bore guns, your PRS guns, your pistols. Take a look at gsltechnologies.com. All right. If you're in that market for some. Let's kind of kick this one off here. For those who are unfamiliar with you guys, just go around. We'll start with Tom. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you guys kind of got into competitive shooting.
Well, yeah, I'm Tom Fuller, own Armageddon Gear. We've been doing this about 9 years. Started AG Cup. We'll talk more about how that came about later, but been involved in competitive shooting since mid 2000s. 3-gun, all the NRA stuff, pistol, PRS, before PRS, a little bit of everything. So just super proud to be a part of the PRS. It's went higher than any sport we've got, and that's what the AG Cup's all about, is trying to even continue to keep it going and going higher. So anyway,
John, what do you got? No, Tom, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you said tell us a little bit about. I'm a Spro. If you know what that is, look it up.
Oh man. Yeah, we shared the video on the Shooter's Mindset. It's a semi-pro. The Spro sounds cooler though, because if you talk, hey, I'm a Spro shooter, people are gonna think you're like top notch, like you're probably the best there is, right?
Super pro.
Super
pro, sexy pro.
There you go. John, I mean, man, if you guys haven't heard, obviously everybody's probably either heard his voice or seen him around either the shows or on TV somewhere, man. But tell us kind of where you kind of started in this industry. I kind of know it, but give us something.
So yeah, it goes all the way back to 1993 when American Shooter was on ESPN. So we're approaching 27 years. And at that time I was 19 years old, fresh out of high school, carrying bags full of batteries and tapes. And that's worked its way all the way through, associate producer into producer. 2006, I got in front of the camera, and right around 2007, 2008, we thought it would be a good idea to start participating in some of these shooting sports that we cover for Shooting USA and give the audience the understanding that you don't have to be the best in the world to go out and enjoy any of these competitions in any of these disciplines. And that's sort of where my role took it stayed producer, it stayed host, if you will, but it also kind of transitioned into somebody who at a club level, B, C level, participates in some of these shooting sports. And the one that hooked me deeper than any of them in 2014 is precision rifle competition. I was with Tom as an amateur in 2014 at the Gap Grind, and from there it was like, dude, this is all I want to do. And as the tide has risen with precision competition, the numbers of people that attend the Gap Grind, especially, we've showcased that on Shooting USA, and we've moved on from there to showcase some of the more challenging matches. And that gave Tom and I an opportunity to create the coverage specifically for what essentially represents the Super Bowl, if you will, of precision rifle competition. The best 20 guys shooting it out for the best cash prize. And that's what we've done this year with the AG Cup.
Yeah, man, you still got that. You got kind of carried on that legendary voice
of
the show. There you go.
I got a long way to go before I fill those shoes. Jim Scoutten has done a lot of Scotch drinking. He's a Scotch man. I particularly choose the bourbon and or the Tennessee whiskey. But, Marlboro Lights have done a lot of work on that man's pipes. So I can do a good impression. The best Jim Scoutten impression I've ever heard came from the immortal Tom Knapp. So I won't try to defile that, but I appreciate it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Jake, man, tell us a little bit more. How'd you get into this, man? You won the big cup. What got you going?
I did. Yeah. I started about 2012, 2013, started shooting quite a bit. Went from, basically all the matches over here, all the local matches, all the one-day matches. I started selling steel targets is kind of how I got into it. So my dad and I were looking for a target, and we wanted to get something to shoot out on the ranch and the farm over in Western Washington. And I started to get into long range shooting, long range hunting. it kind of escalated quickly. So I've been fortunate to shoot quite a bit of matches every year since about 2014, and have my fair share of wins and accomplishments, and just super blessed to do what I do and shoot as much as I do.
There we go. Tate, man, what do you got? Where you start from?
Man, I started just like any other country boy shooting. Dad grew me up or raised me up, shooting 22s around the woods, shooting squirrels. And sometime around 2013, through searching on longrangehunting.com, trying to figure it out, actually came across Rick Reeves' name, and he had a gun club at the time. And they did clay pigeon shoots, and talked to my dad, and actually worked with him. They worked in the same company but a different area. And I got a hold of Rick, and I was in senior year of college at that time, so I didn't really have money. So I pieced together a rifle, and I went about 2 years. Heard about the PRS, got on Precision Rifle Blog, read all the cool stuff and what all the pros were using, and started in early 14, and the rest is history. So I've been hard at it ever since.
Boom, there we go. Brandon, what you got, buddy?
Man, I probably started 2012 or so shooting long range. How that kind of initially started was I missed the biggest 8-pointer of my life with a bow, and I decided I was going to shoot him from afar. So put down the bows and picked up rifles and kind of taught myself to just, basically over the internet and stuff like that, longrange-shooting.com and Sniper's Hide and a few others. But basically just took it there and just, went and shot my first local match and placed third in it. And then it was just kind of game on from there. So, man, it's almost like a brotherhood. So it's almost like a family reunion every time you go to a match. So we've got to know a lot of these guys across the country and stuff like that, and still meet new guys every day. So, man, it's good to always get out and shoot matches with people across the country, knowing that, you may have a chance to, shoot against somebody you've never met, but could be some of the best shooters in the country.
There we go, man. I just wanted to remind people here, we're doing the new thing on the YouTube. You can join the conversation and still get in your live questions on the live YouTube feed. Head over there. If you got any, throw them in there. We'll get it. Jen, what do you have? You had some lined up for yourself, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me go back to that. I'm on like 3 different screens.
Yeah, I know. We're still sharing the Pittsburgh show.
I know. Sorry. Trying to get everything going. So, Tom, this whole AG Cup was something totally different. How did you come up with the idea? Was it something that kind of transformed over time, or was it like you just woke up one morning and said, I'm going to do this? What was your goal for the match? Like, kind of tell us about how the match came about and how you chose the competitors for it this year.
Okay. I've been a part of the precision rifle matches for a long time, and has supported them in a lot of different ways, to include Armageddon gear, for the last 7 or 8 years. And I've never had a match. I've never had a match that was Armageddon gear, title sponsor, anything. And a lot of match directors reached out and said, hey, man, we'd love for you to be the title sponsor for our match. But I thought, well, if I do a match and Armageddon gear's name's on it, I want it to be something different. And that's just kind of been in my head for a long time. It was probably 3 years ago that me and John Scoutten talked about this. And I said, dude, I just want it to be bigger, better somehow. I don't know what that means. And maybe that's just a little bit of narcissism, or, just like pride for my company, that I wanted to do it different and bigger and better. But it is something I've talked about for a while. And I just wanted it to be different. And as different, I wanted it to somehow be better. And I had a lot of ideas about it. And then I kind of settled on, well, what if we just gave away a lot of money and did a TV show?
Who's in the background? Yeah, there we go. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, I was like, what if we just try to give away a lot of money? This sport has gotten so big. And over the last few years, you can see some of the guys that used to be really, really good at this, like guys that were always winning, that kind of slowly started not showing up as much anymore. And I actually talked to a couple of them. They're like, well, you go to a match, you show up, you win. what else is there? You know, and I'm like, wow, there really does need to be something else. And we can all think of some people that we shot with over the last few years that aren't around anymore that were wonderful shooters. And so really how I got it done, John told me, he said, man, if you can pull that off, we'll make a show out of it, because that'll be awesome. And to pull it off though, I mean, as you know, it wasn't just a match, it was an event. We fed, 90 people, 60 people, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 days. We housed people. We had a TV crew coming in, and we ran a match. And Brandon's wife, Christy, we shoot together, knowing her well. I said, hey, look, if you've got time to do this, if you'll work for me and put this match together, we're going to do it, because great ideas are one thing, but if you don't have the bandwidth to pull it off, doesn't matter. And she's like, I can do it. And she did, man. She did it great. We'll talk more about how it pulled off later, but she did a wonderful job. And like, she pushed me to make it happen, and it did happen well.
I remember we were having a show where we're talking about, like, we were definitely missing matches like this, where, you got a big cash winnings, or, I know the sponsors really got to come together to make an event like this happen too. But, I looked at other games, I knew we had a guest on here. She did archery professional. I mean, the winnings for winning that match were like, I'm like, why can't we get this going in the shooting world? The checks that these people were pulling off in other games, I was like, we just need this. And it seems like, there's been some other organizations that kind of trickled in and had events like this that were great. This kind of trickled off a little bit also, but we had the AG Cup, man. And I was like, okay, it's another match. And then Jen was telling me about it. No, it's not that. Look at the prizes, look what you get. I'm like, man, that's awesome. And not only that, I think it entices some for other people from other games to really come into the PRS style competitions and really try to win something good.
Yeah, man, this is an event, yes, but and part of Jen's question was, where's this going? What do you want to happen with this thing? And I think we're already seeing it happen a little bit. I'm seeing just matches in general that are now saying, hey, we're going to give away some money to the top finishers. And that's starting to come out. And that's what I wanted, because I don't want this to be just an event. I don't want the AG Cup to be an event. I want the AG Cup to be part of a layer of this sport where people are coming and competing and winning big money, and not just at this event, but in a whole nother layer. And that keeps growing the top, because, this sport is very broad. There's a lot of one-day match shooters, a lot of guys coming into the sport every day, as evidenced by, sales of companies like Armageddon Gear. And I know Tate's selling a lot of actions, and Manners is selling a lot of stocks, and everybody's doing great. But how do we keep the guys that's been doing this for years and are the top guys in the sport? What's aspirational for them? And that's what we set out to do, and it worked. And you mentioned sponsors, man. I said, man, if we can get a handful of sponsors on board that'll pay money instead of just throw some stuff on the prize table, this thing can go off great. And man, it was amazing how these guys came out of the woodwork and already hitting us up for next year on it. So next year's going to be good too. And I know we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we're going to hit some live here before it gets out of control. What do we have? Greg, Jen, you have?
Well, Corey, he says, whoa, Tater Tot, looking like a pro gamer, but he wants to know how long on the wrong-handed actions.
And we've had left-handed actions in stock for a long time. I actually sold the last lefty today, but I probably had them in stock for 60 days. So
he was late on the draw, it looks like.
Watch the site.
Yeah. Anything else live?
That's about it right now. If you want to ask anything live, you can just comment on the YouTube underneath the video, and I'll pull those questions off.
There we go. Greg, you got anything on your end, bud? Just unmute yourself.
Greg disappeared.
Oh, he disappeared?
I think he said there weren't any.
There we go. There we go. All right. John, what are the challenges of producing a TV show at a live match? I know I've tried doing it, even just going from my phone, let alone having a full production crew there. And usually the range Wi-Fi, as you will, is a little shaky out in the woods.
This particular event had a couple of challenges involved, but the first thing I want to touch on is the thing that we talked about just a moment ago. Tom led us into it, and that is the money prize. There was money from sponsors that covered stage money. So individual stages were sponsored by sponsors. The 20 grand that went in the cup that ultimately went in Jake's pocket, that came from 19 other competitors that joined up for this match. And that was part of the mindset that Tom and I approached going into this thing, which is everyone understands what it feels like to pull $1,000 out of your bank account and put it down in front and say, I'm good enough to do this. Everybody also knows what $20,000 in cash can possibly do, can mean in terms of life and can mean in terms of things like that. I took the model away from the guys that do the show on Discovery Channel called Street Outlaws, the drag racing show. You know, I love that show from the standpoint that I love fast cars. I'll never own a pro mod car. I'll never go to Oklahoma or Texas or any of these places, Memphis, where they race these cars and do any of that. But I know a cool ass car, and I know what a stack of cash does in terms of an exciting thing to see as a transient viewer. So Tom and I, as we were talking through this, thought, what does it look like if we have 20 grand in cash that, you know, is amassed by the 20 guys who came to this match? And that, I think, translates to somebody, especially somebody who likes precision rifle competition, but it also translates to people who don't necessarily know anything about long range shooting. They just like the idea of competition. And at the end, I'm going to see somebody lift a cup up and they're going to pull 20 grand in cash out of it, which ultimately Jake does. The other side of the coin is, how do I pull that off and get it to the viewers? And that's the root of your question that got me talking. What are the challenges involved in putting something like this together? And frankly, it's nothing like anything we've done before. We go to national and world level shooting competitions of all descriptions, including precision rifle competition. But in those, I can handicap it and say, all right, I know this guy is relevant to the story and these guys aren't anymore. And because of that, I focus my cameraman and I say, look, we don't need these dudes. We need these guys, or I need these handful of guys. In this case, because of this format where each stage has $1,000 at stake and each stage has X number of points at stake, which ultimately leads to the overall winner who's going to claim 20 grand. Any one of these 20 guys can jump up at any time and take a stage win. And if I don't have that on camera, I don't have the story of that stage. So we filmed every single shot that went downrange on every course of fire that we filmed. Now, within that statement, there are 20 courses of fire in this match, plus 2 side events. We didn't film all 20 courses of fire, but we filmed the majority of them, if you will. And that was a bigger project than I've ever undertaken. It was a greater impact in terms of time on the range, in terms of battery life, in terms of memory card life. Every night at the event, I was wiping memory cards because they had to be cleared for the next day. I mean, this was uncharted territory for me. And I was saying halfway through the first day, it's like, this is what I get for talking to a man of action like Tom Fuller and saying, you do it and I'll do it, because it was one of those things. It's like, you're out of the nest now, baby bird. You tied on with somebody who's going to drive forward. And if you're not ready to drive forward at his pace, you're going to be left in the dust and you're going to look like a fool. We've pulled it off. And it, in terms of a television show and in terms of a Shooting USA special, this is like nothing we've ever done before. And I'm super excited to show people.
That sounds awesome. Do you think maybe we could see a little teaser of this tonight at some point in time?
We actually, Greg, as you know, Anthony and Jennifer, we talked about this earlier today. We put together, and I walked into one of the edit bays and talked to one of my guys, and he wasn't real keen on it because we're running close to the end of the year deadline and all of the things that have to happen. But I was like, listen, put me an in point and an out point on your timeline on what you're working on. Drag that off the timeline and give it to me in an MP4 so I can share it tonight. And it's rough, but yeah, we can look at that later on. And that will give you an idea of where I was taking the direction of the first segment of this show, which is meet these guys, hear a little bit about them before you just hear their name and see over their shoulder as they shoot a course of fire, which is what you typically see when it comes to any of these events. You don't really get a feel for who these people are what their mindset is, especially in some cases, what their equipment amounts to and so on. So we spent an entire day, as Christy knows, she coordinated it for me, and she had everybody down to the minute when they would show up and sit down for the interviews. But we spent an entire day talking with all 20 of these competitors about their particular equipment and getting all of the pieces needed to do that part of the television piece of this story.
So y'all talked about the match, and this is a very different match. Everything about this match was very different. So for Jake and Tate and Brandon and Robert, maybe take turns and hitting on this, but how was this match different as a competitor for you to shoot it? Like, there's money on the line. You had to put a hefty entry fee on. And so, you had money on the line. There's a big payout at the end for someone, and there's a camera in your face that's going to be on live TV if you zero a stage or anything. Not that any of you would do that, but if you zeroed a stage, you've got a camera in your face watching it the whole time. Like, what did that do to did it rattle you? What kind of pressure did that put on you? Did you game it differently? Was your mindset different? Tell us a little bit about all that.
Robert, let's take it, then we'll go to Jake.
So for me, I didn't treat it differently than any other match. Went there with the same mindset, just going to run my course and see how I did. Didn't really train any differently. Nothing was different other than I brought a different gun. But what was different is when I showed up, I had E. coli, food poisoning, God knows what. So I was deathly sick the entire match. And if it was any other match, I probably would have quit and went home. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to roll up. I'm going to see how I do. First stage, I won my $1,000 back. So I was like, boom. All right, let's roll with it. Try not to puke on camera. See how we do. That was my match.
Did you catch any of that, John?
Dude, look, y'all. He looked like a zombie rolling up, like vomit on his shirt, and cleaned the first stage. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah, you got to be feeling good to get your $1,000 match fee back on the first stage of the day.
Bought a lot of Pepto.
Yeah.
I can speak to that. He was white and pale as a ghost, and the video shows it so much so that Tom and I actually make mention of it at the beginning of the coverage. I mean, he quite literally looked like he needed life support. And
I want to give a shout out to Dan Jericho, my new Pepto-Bismol sponsor. And without that dude, I don't know where I'd be right now. And also the Truett for bringing me Tums to the match going to town. So much love to them people.
Yeah, the Pepto has gotten me through some times, man. You got to love that. Jake, man, what do you got, man? You won it. What was your kind of mindset going in? Did you do anything different for this match?
I didn't do much different for this particular match. I did train quite a bit. Some of my training regimen is going to be things like tape turret drill, 10-second drill. And, these are drills that help me get ready for a match. So, typically if a match is on a Saturday, Sunday, this one ended up being, different timeline. But a couple days before the match, you're going to go, you're going to train. I'm going to focus on a couple things that I think I need to work on. Those things are going to help me, really excel at the match itself. And so my tape turret drill, that focuses, all my attention on seeing bullet trace. It focuses all my attention on seeing where the bullet lands. And so that's why I do that drill. And then I kind of roll into a 10-second drill where I have a timer on my hip, and I'm just going to take one shot, and I want that one shot to be in that 10-second range, kind of from that 9 to 10, 9 to 11 range. And this is over barricades, over tank traps, over rooftops, over whatever. What that's going to do is it's going to kind of get me into the mindset of, performing well at a match. And so, for this match, I did all those kind of things. I had a little bit of a different challenge where I was running a PRS match 2 days after the AG Cup. So I was literally setting up my match before. I went straight to the airport. I flew, down to Atlanta. I got in Atlanta. We did the AG Cup, and I flew straight back to my match to finish setting up. So it was a little bit of a different challenge for me. But, obviously it all worked out really well. For the pressure, I really like the pressure. I mean, I love it. I love, putting your money where your mouth is and seeing what happens. I knew going into it that there was going to be some challenges, some stages, because every stage was $1,000 cash payback. And so my initial mindset was, I'm just going to play my game. I feel that I'm pretty consistent, so I can, take advantage of my consistency over an entire match. And, what you'll notice is that there was some stages, some people had some big highs and some big lows. And you notice that maybe they had a really fast time. You check out all the score sheets, and what you're going to notice is, even though I finished in first, I was by far the slowest shooter there at the match. And I got the least amount of rounds downrange. So I just needed to make sure that all my rounds counted and make sure that when I am going to pull the trigger, it's exactly where I want to pull it. So, great match. It's probably one of the best formats that I've been a part of, where every stage was just a butt whooper. Literally, it was a butt whooper, and I really enjoyed that. If you're going to bring the top level shooters for a match, no matter what kind of match it is, a championship, a finale, whatever, it should be a tough match. All those guys have worked hard all year long. There shouldn't be many cleans. And there was stage after stage after stage where nobody cleaned it. And that's the sign of a really tough, grueling match. So who can keep their head in it, who can stay in the match and really focus on it and grind through that. Man, it was just a ton of fun. So I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, keeping your head in, that can really mess with you because you're probably used to cleaning something. You're used to feeling good out there. Man, you speak to some of these top competitors, even in the pistol game, they throw a Delta or they throw a mic, and you can see the frustration come in their head. Some of them handle it better than the others, but that can definitely throw your game off for the rest of the match. Brandon, what's your thoughts on the AG Cup and how'd you perform?
Man, the AG Cup is pretty epic, to say the least, be able to compete and be considered to be in the top 20 in the country and run with those guys. So, hats off to Tom for the idea and the whole 9 yards. Also to my wife who helped Tom run it. She put in a ton of work to make this happen and keep him on track to make it happen and bring everything to fruition. So, man, I had a train wreck like right off the bat. Scope went down very first round I sent. I was like a half mil right in a no wind condition, and it was pretty rough from there. But I just stayed with it, man, and didn't let it get to me too bad. And I think it was my second or third stage. I won a stage, and so I just kept grinding it out. But it was man, when you start down off the bat like that, it's pretty tough to stay positive throughout the whole thing. But man, all in all, the match itself was epic. Tom set the bar, pretty much when you walk in, to register for the match, when you sign in and get your swag bag, you have your own swag bag with your name embroidered on the bag with all the swag in it and stuff like that, man. That kind of set the bar and the tone for everything, and all the food, the prep, the whole course of fire was, man, it was challenging to say the least. So, man, hats off to Tom for the idea and bringing this to light for some of the veteran guys to bring that top tier up a little bit more. So, man, it was hopefully, everything runs right and I get in it again next year.
Tate, man, how'd you do at the match, man? These checks behind everybody, they look a little bit better than trophies to me. I'm digging the checks, man. I'm liking it. What do you got?
Man, I set out at the AG Cup just like everybody else. I talked to some buddies that were going and what's your game plan going to be. And, I started feeling like I was going to go like Jake and just do my game and try to hit a bunch of targets. And if a stage went south, you can go for stage wins. But I'm typically a pretty fast shooter. I kind of talked to everybody and nobody was going for stage wins. So I made up my mind on the way down there. I was going to go for stage wins and kind of figured the stages would be a little bit easier than what they were. Like Jake said, there were stages that nobody cleaned. I mean, I can remember a couple of stages somebody, dropped one or two and still won the money. So I started out on stage one with a fast run, and really, to be honest, I didn't think anybody was going to touch my time. And I get down, and Austin Regain beat me by like 0.46 seconds, and he hadn't dialed, and I dialed 5 times, and I was like, golly, that's a bad start. But go to the next stage, it's a pretty easy stage, and I think Tom did this on purpose. 2 of our easiest stages were our first 2 stages, and we did
warm-up stages.
Yeah, we didn't talk throughout the match, so you didn't really know what everybody else was doing. You didn't watch them shooting. So, with the first two stages, what I would consider easy cleans if you're not worried about shooting fast, it kind of got me like I'm in the right game plan because this is kind of in my element. Man, it went downhill from there. I kept up trying to do the fast pace and dropping points, and about 6 or 7 stages in, I thought, man, we kind of finally started talking a little bit, and I noticed that I was kind of hanging in there with a couple of guys, and thought, man, I think I'm just going to swap my game plan and try to salvage a match because a clean run is probably going to win a stage. So I swapped gears about stage 8 on day 1, but man, it was really fun. Tom did a really good job of making that match feel like you were on the next level and important. And John and all his guys, man, it was pretty impressive how they operated. It was just a good feeling being there.
Yeah, I like the format that, stage wins are getting you cash prizes too, because if you bosh a couple, whatever, you know what I mean? Usually you can put it together for a couple stages, and, you kind of did that strategy and you probably came out pretty well. So, I'm always known to win a stage or two, but then altogether, I kind of don't come together because everybody has an excuse, but just winning a couple stages would have made a good day for some folks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Greg, you just put on your first match. I know it's probably not at the level of the AG Cup, of course, but what were some of the hurdles, and talk about your match that you had to go?
Okay. So we don't have a whole lot local to us. That's why both Jen and I, when we got into precision rifle, it was like, all right, well, we could go to this 2-day pro series match 5 hours away. Okay, cool. Let's do that. So I started a little NRL 22 match here at our local club. We got a 100-yard range out there. All sorts of little things you don't think of. Obviously, it's nothing compared to running a 2-day 20-stage match or something like that. But there's lots of little things you don't think about, like, oh yeah, I have this target stand, but the terrain of the range means I have to raise this target up an extra 3 feet over what I was expecting to, and got to build stuff at the last minute. But it was definitely a lot more work goes into it, but it was super rewarding at the end after all the shooters were, done shooting and just coming up to me and thanking me for doing it and saying they can't wait till the next one. It was a really good feeling.
I'm digging it, man. Congrats on the first match. Do we have any live?
Well, none. George wants to know if anybody was shooting A-tips. Wants to know how many of the guys were shooting A-tips.
I was shooting A-tips.
I was shooting A-tips
all year.
There we go. So
lots of A-tips.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've been shooting A-tips all year as well, so it's been a pretty consistent bolt for me. I've been happy with it.
Is the A-tips. Anything else, Greg? We're good?
Yep, and I guess we could kind of touch off of what Tate was just talking about a little bit about the strategy that they played in the match. This was definitely a different match where you could win stages and win the match. How did you guys game the match? And when I think you mentioned, Tate, you changed gears. How do you change gears from trying to win a stage versus trying to win the match?
I never changed that gear.
It was different, wasn't it? Like whether or not time was a factor for one versus the other.
Right. So I went into the match thinking it was going to be a high percentage hit match, and especially after the first 2 stages, because I thought those were pretty. I would have bet if there hadn't been the wow factor of this match or the time, I would have bet 14 guys out of the 20 would have cleaned the first 2 stages or 9 or 10s. So I thought, man, this is going to be a high hit percentage match. So I kept on my fast game plan. And about stage 8, through stage 3 through 8, I was dropping a few points. I thought, man, if I was shooting slow, these are going to be hard stages. So I started trying to hit targets. The targets were pretty small. So I went from the mindset where a clean in the fastest time was going to maybe dropping 1 or cleaning was going to win, period, no matter what the time was, because the stages were so difficult.
Yep. How about you, Robert? How do you game it from stage wins versus match win?
I was never going to go for speed. I was going to go for my hits the whole time, and me and gaming just don't go together. So I just going to roll with it, and that was a plan. But like I said, just try not to puke and get sick on the stage. My mindset was totally different.
Don't puke, don't puke, don't puke, don't puke. Pull trigger.
No,
Dude,
don't.
that would have been good for the camera though. Shooting USA was there. It's like, look at how tense the AG Cup is. The king is throwing up. It's so tense over here.
I wasn't worried about puking. I just try not to puke on camera on the stage. I didn't want to contaminate the props or any barricades like that. So I did it more for the other shooters. But I heard a lot of other shooters contracted it on the way in. So I got to affect them one way or the other.
See, that's one way to game it. Just shoot first every stage, throw up as soon as you're done.
Okay, well, I got to say something here. The facility where we stayed had to throw away Brantley's mattress when we were done. I was cleaning up. I was cleaning up the targets a couple days later, and I saw a mattress go flying out one of the cabins onto the back of a trailer and bedding, but he told him if I were you, I would just throw that mattress away.
Dude, in all reality, his whatever it was went through everybody on my crew and to me in a certain extent. It was one of those things. We went from this and waited a day, and then we went to South Florida for the low cap nationals for USPSA. And, it was one of those deals. It's like, you got to deal with it. You got to do the Imodium dance and make it happen, man.
Matt Utroska couldn't even make it all the way in, and he didn't have that far of a drive. He had to rent a hotel room halfway there and stay there to get it out of his system because he couldn't drive. So
nasty.
Wow.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Hey,
go ahead.
Before we go, I know it's cool to talk about, being sick and all, but, I'm listening to these guys talk about the match. I set this match up and I wanted it to be challenging, but here's the deal. It turned out way harder than I intended because we don't get wind in South Georgia. I mean, if we do, we got to add a 3. You shoot one stage, you got the wind figured out for the whole day. And because we had fronts coming through and we had 10, 15 mile an hour winds, and it changed throughout the day. And it was from your right, slowly in your face, now from your left. I mean, it made it way harder than I intended. I'm kind of glad it did because everybody around here going, yeah, well, it's AG Cup and it was too easy. But, it just turned out to be, I think, the right balance for the level of these guys and what they kind of expected and what they deserve, almost by accident. But I want to say this too, and I've been dying to ask these guys this question. Tate went fast on the first stage, and we went to the 2 easiest stage in the match first because the rest of the stages were undercover and it was supposed to rain. And we're like, okay, we'll do these 2 first, and they were the absolute easiest stages. Most, not just these guys, but a normal shooter could clean those stages and take them.
Semi-pro could clean it.
Spro could probably, I'm just going to say a Spro might have cleaned those in proofing, but, so if you didn't clean it, whatever. But anyway, those stages weren't hard, and I expected to see guys just burning it down. We actually called one of the stages Steel Challenge because I expected it to kind of go bang, 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 roll the boat, bang, rank the bolt, bang. These were big targets at 3 to 450, and it was designed to make them run. And some of the stages were designed that if they tried to get all the shots off, I know they were going to miss. And if they got all hits, they're probably going to get 7 shots off on a 9-round stage. And some of it worked the way I thought, and some of it totally blew my mind. I'm like, these guys, why is everybody going slow? Somebody should be winning $1,000 here. It was just, it really, we were, after the first couple stages, I looked at John Scoutten and Sykes and George were all standing there. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? These guys are acting weird. We felt like you guys were shooting out of character.
So you feel like the pressure affected more than what you feel they're saying they felt it did necessarily, that their mindset was different.
I'm not saying it was pressure. I'm saying it was, I've shot with everybody here many times, and the way they approach those first few stages of the day was different than they would approach any other stage. I believe by watching them. I don't remember Tate's run, but the guys I watched, it was kind of weird. It was almost like they were in slow motion. It's like playing slow motion $6 Million Man when you're a kid. You know, it's like, watch me move my boat. It was interesting.
I can speak to Tate's run on Steel Challenge because it's one of the ones you're going to see in the show. And he mentioned it earlier. He was talking about I shot this stage. I felt like I was quick, but I was smooth. And then Austin Orgain came through and beat me by less than a second. The difference between what Austin did and what Tate did is Austin held off in his reticle. Tate dialed only once. So Tate, talk to this, because it seemed to me like you held off for the first couple of targets. You dialed, shot the far targets, dialed back to the original dope, held off, dialed once, and then after your second position, the time loss and the time difference between you and Austin in an analysis standpoint is virtually nil. I mean, there's like quite literally no difference in time. So do you feel like you could have been faster if you had a chance to do it again? Would you have done it differently?
Man, it's actually funny you notice that because, I wanted my points, but I also wanted to be fast. So there were 5 targets, and I dialed for my second target, held under on the first one, over on the third one, and I dialed my 4th target, held the 5th target. Well, then when I dialed back, I had all the dope down on my hand for all 5 targets. I accidentally dialed to the first target. And instead of going back up and dialing for the second target and doing the same thing, I got off rhythm and I just dialed, 3 more times instead of dialing twice per run. And that one extra, reach up there cost me $1,000. I mean, that is the reality.
Wow.
There you go. Look, that's the first stage of 20.
Yep.
There we go. We were hinting at the video that there's an AG Cup video that the Shooting USA is kind of putting together. John, you want to kind of lead us into that?
Yeah, let me talk about that a little bit.
We'll show it.
Yeah. So knowing that this was happening tonight and all of this is going together in our edit bays, I went in with my primary editor for this project and I said, I know it's rough. I know you're not ready to share it with the world, but give me an in point and give me an out point. Pull 90 seconds out so I can show them what I'm trying to do. And honestly, all of the guys know this. What I'm trying to do here is make personalities, give the audience, whether people know Tate, Streater, Jake, Vibbert, Brandon Hembree, or any of these guys, whether they've met these guys or know them or know who they are, they need to have an understanding that there's a lot on the line here. These guys all either have jobs in the industry or have regular day jobs, but they're all people and they all have a different approach to this type of competition. They're not just dudes in jerseys covered up. So the idea here is not only to get a feel for everybody and, know who they are and where they're from, but also know more about their equipment. And this is a very focused little 90-second clip out of what we're working with. But, it's an interesting thing, and you'll get a little personality out of this, especially from Robert Brantley, my man. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Thinking it, because if you don't know these guys or you're not in the game and you're just watching because you enjoy the entertainment value, you're gonna kind of gravitate to your favorite shooter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I just like Robert Brantley because hey, that intro, I like his swag, and all of a sudden I'm rooting for him. But
who doesn't
like
Robert Brantley?
Right? You know what I mean?
I don't.
It's
there were a lot of people didn't like him the week after.
But it's like it's almost, even though it's not, it's like these reality TV shows. All of a sudden people just start rooting for this one individual. They don't know him worth a damn. But there you go. I'm digging it. So we're gonna pull up that video, right, Greg?
Yep. So let's see. Share screen. You guys all see?
Yeah, it's about to go.
Yep, my name is Dan Jarecki. I'm from North Texas.
Ken Sanofsky. I'm from Kennerdale, Pennsylvania. My name's Dave Preston, and I live in Pennsylvania.
My name's Jake Vibbert from Cheney, Washington.
John Finch, State and Oregon.
Keith Baker, Akron, Ohio.
20 individual competitors from all over the country, all with gear that wins. And as you would assume, there are some parallels.
For sure. 6 of the 20 choose a chassis, predominantly MPA. The other 14, they're in stocks. 9 of them from Foundation, the rest from Manners.
It's interesting, but what about caliber?
So I shoot a 6mm dasher. My dad shoots a 6 dasher, and
that's what he deals most of the time. So I just go with it.
I don't know why they associate me as the dasher guy in such a way.
This is six dasher. I switch back and forth a lot between the six dasher and six Creedmoor, depending on the style of match and stuff we're shooting. So
this Creed, and the girl that brought me to the dance, I didn't even show it with her. I built a brand new gun for this match, which is the biggest no-no. You never change gear at the last minute. I changed all my gear. I'm running new parts for T5A thumb hole stock that I used to shoot with a Gap 6 GT. Normally, for the last 2.5 years, I've shot six Creedmoor. I shoot Clay's Cartridge Company ammo, and he had this 6 GT loaded up. He's like, "Man, give this thing a try." And I said, "Okay, no problem."
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, so
that was the play. And we spent the entire first day before we ever fired a shot down range, really spending time talking to these guys, asking questions. And, that's just a little bit of how that played out. When we get into the courses of fire, obviously none of these guys had any idea what the courses of fire entailed, what they were going to be seeing. But I had an idea ahead of time. I also had an idea about the fact that the rain was coming. So I was preloaded with some questions about things I knew was going to happen. Had I had an opportunity for an after action interview, like what Tate and I just did, where I asked him about that first course of fire, where I saw you dial once and he gave me a better understanding of what he actually did. Those are the kind of things that are going to make this even better when it comes to a television production next time. And that's, for me, the learning curve as the producer behind this.
That's awesome. We definitely know a lot about learning curves, as the start of this episode could kind of show. When can we expect to see this on live TV?
We have a firm air date, and Tom and I were round and round about this. We have been absolutely pressed to the wall to make this thing happen. And we even, Tom will attest to this, got together on a Sunday to shoot the gunroom segments where he and I are in front of the monitor. And the monitor and the scoreboard play a big part in this story, because you'll see a lot of action happen where, reporting on what guys have done here or guys have done there, whether it was good or it was bad, a lot of that will happen in the graphic on that monitor. But we will have this delivered to the network in time for them to run their E&O and all of the things that they do, which takes a little over 2 weeks. So this will run on its debut Wednesday, the 29th of January.
Awesome. So the last time, I think it was a gap grind when you guys were out there, and I kind of wanted to see myself on TV. I had to ask around and post in Facebook groups until I found someone that had the outdoor channel, and then beg to go over to his house at night to go and watch. Is that still the way I have to do it, or is there other ways to see this?
Well, I mean, to answer your question, the Shooting USA is the anchor hour in Wednesday night at the range on Outdoor Channel. That's where we make our bread and butter. That's our staple. That's what makes Shooting USA Shooting USA. At the same time, the Outdoor Channel and the Outdoor Sportsman's Group recognize the fact that times are changing. People cut cable. They are losing cable subscriptions on a exponential basis, unfortunately. They have embraced that, and they have created myoutdoortv.com, which is a subscription-based streaming service. Think of Netflix for everything you see on any of the OSG networks, from fishing to any of the hunting shows to any of the shooting sports shows. All of it is there. Our entire library, since we went HD, is in the myoutdoortv.com streaming app. It's a subscription per month. It's right around the same kind of money you spend to subscribe to Netflix. In addition to that, we've been blessed with the opportunity to offer a streaming service of our own on shootingusa.com. You can click there and ride through a link to our own Vimeo channel that allows you to stream individual episodes and do a monthly subscription basis, which allows you to see our entire play queue. That's something that is very new for us. It's a few months old. It's getting a little bit of traction as we go along. It's more popular, especially after shows like the Bianchi Cup come up, because of the international flavor that's there. The Australians especially all like to be able to see themselves and can't otherwise watch our show in any format. Even if we were to send them a DVD, they can't watch that because of the international differences in the way things play back. And that's as good as I can explain it. But if people don't have cable or don't have myoutdoortv.com access or don't want to spend the money it costs to be on MOTV, you can go to shootingusa.com. Right on the top of the page, there's a streaming banner. You can click that. If you want to watch this episode, Wednesday the 29th will happen. Thursday the 30th, it'll be up there and available. You can watch it. It costs 99 cents. I mean,
Awesome.
everybody's got 99 cents.
99 cents.
Yeah, 99 cents. I know it's crazy.
It's 99
but
cents.
That's
That is
part of
less
it.
money
You know what I
in
mean?
gas I spent.
Well, it's one of those things. If it were up to us, you'd just be able to get it, but it's part of the contract. So that's how it lives.
Go. Yeah, getting Shooting USA on more mainstream channels. I mean, especially in today's political climate, I always kind of been on the shows talking about, man, we need to get this on like ESPN or something like that. I would love to see, you know what I mean, shows on a shooting show on that channel. I mean, it used to be back, what was it, early 90s, 80s deal. And man, those were entertaining to watch today.
100%, Anthony, you nailed it. In 93, American Shooter, the first time any shooting sports was shown on television, the face of that was Jim Scoutten. That was on ESPN Saturday morning, 8:30 Eastern time, dude. Everybody who gets ESPN can watch it. Here's where that becomes a rub. For American Shooter to work, they have to have industry sponsorship. ESPN as a national level network becomes acquired by the Disney Corporation. The Disney Corporation says there will be absolutely no firearms advertising of any kind on any of our networks. And at that time, that show was completely carried by Colt. And Colt and the producers of American Shooter, Jim included, came up with an idea to, at that time, because in 93, there wasn't a really prolific internet, offer catalogs. So you would dial it, you would see a commercial at the end of segment 1 that said, call now and get your commercials for, or get your catalogs for all of the Colt offerings. And in those, it was Colt swag, like shirts and hats and apparel and different things like that. And the next catalog underneath that in the commercial was the Colt catalog of firearms. And that was how they successfully fulfilled the advertising agreement with Colt for the years they were on ESPN, which ultimately that died out because people at Disney and people at ESPN high up are like, all right, we see what you're trying to do. And that's when that show landed on the Nashville network. Ultimately, that evolved into TNN, then OLN, and then the Outdoor Sportsman's Group and Outdoor Channel, which is owned by Stan Kroenke, who is wealthy enough to pay for his hobbies, which include big game hunting. And he is not about to bend to anybody's anti-2A standpoint. So the OSG and all of their networks are going to be the place you're going to see the shooting sports. The idea that we're going to get the shooting sports shown anywhere else is it's a challenge that ultimately comes down to dollars. And without making this too long a speech, I can tell you that we, as our company and Shooting USA, have danced with 2 different out-of-industry companies. One that's has so much money it wouldn't even scratch the surface of their advertising budget. The other that's everywhere, and I guarantee you've had their product and you've eaten it. Ultimately, they, as family-owned businesses, are pro 2A. And ultimately, they take advice from their attorneys and other advertising people that are involved with how they spend their millions of dollars nationally. And they see it as, even though the 2A audience is so loyal, it's not worth the negative press when the anti-2A audience sees that they support something like what we all do. And it's worth less money to them to not have to fight the negative side of the fence by being involved in something like this. And when you get to the question about how do we get the shooting sports back on ESPN, you're never going to beat the Disney channel or the Disney Corporation. When you ask the question, how are you going to get the shooting sports on Fox? I mean, ultimately, you go up the chain until you hit the high-end advertisers. And those high-end advertisers, if any of them, I mean, and you can run down the list, just Google anti-Second Amendment corporations, and you'll start with companies like Levi's and I don't know what's the ketchup company and the other ones. You'll start to find where the money gets spent. And if that money doesn't get spent with those networks are just simply going to be like, it's not worth it for us to do this. And so that's why we all kind of have to circle our wagons and keep all of our boats afloat within our industry. Those companies that can tap, or those events that can tap out of industry money, are the ones that, number one, have the chance to really succeed. I don't want to get too preachy on this because we're not here to talk about how the industry works and how advertising works, but it's a challenge as far as getting this thing out in a what would be considered a mainstream network.
Yeah, we got a couple live ones. What do you got?
Yeah, Christy Hembree wants to know what time is the show airing, which I thought was a good question.
Okay, so that Wednesday night, our show airs 9 p.m. Eastern time, and then airs again at 9 p.m. Pacific for my friends out on the West Coast, Jake included. So there are multiple opportunities for you all people to watch.
And then Sam asked about what the par time was for every stage. And I thought that might be something that a lot of people wanted to know. So I thought we'd ask it. And Tom did answer it in the comments, but it's 90 seconds, correct?
That's correct. And here's why I did that. So I wanted fast par times because, hell, it's the AG Cup, make it hard for these guys. But I wanted a lot of movement, and I wanted the competitors to have choices. And so as long as they had choices, they could do it several different ways. And as we proofed it, we're like, you know what? Everybody's going to time out on this unless we make it a 90-second stage. So I was like, just make them all 90 seconds. That way, the guys that want to take their time and get hits can do that. And the guys that want to go speedy and win $1,000 one stage at a time can do that as well. So it worked out in the end, I guess.
That's pretty good. So the big question of the hour, Tom, I think, as soon as Shannon put out the new PRS 2020, they updated the website with all the 2020 information. As soon as that came out, there was just like a buzz everywhere about the AG Cup and, oh, how's the series going to be? Now there's an AG Cup series. So tell us a little bit about how that AG Cup series is going to run and how do you qualify for the AG Cup? Where is it going to be held? All that stuff.
I don't know shit about it.
Whoa.
Okay, I'm kidding. I know a little bit. All right, so here's the deal. So, you listen to some of the guys talk about it, Jake and Tate and Brandon talk about the match and Robert and what their guys are saying about it. And they're like, you knew this was different. You knew it felt different. You knew you showed up, you got this embroidered bag, a ton of swag and the food and you asked earlier, Jennifer, it's like, how did you pick the people? It's like, well, we picked the people based on merit. And we wanted the right people there because we wanted to validate what we were doing. But also, the people that were here that competed in this and that were here helping me run this too, were also people that were influencers in this community. And I wanted everybody to feel like this is different. This is different. And there was a different feel for it. And that came across because Tate runs matches and Hembree runs matches everybody that were a part of so many match directors that were competing here. So many of these guys are influencers. And so I want them to know, and they got it. I think they did. They got what it is. And we're already seeing, while somebody else was talking, I was not paying attention and was scrolling. It's $5,000 given away to another match. And then there's like matches giving away money now because this has got to happen. And it's going to continue to grow. But how it's going to work next year. So we picked the people, and I think the people that we picked to shoot this, I think it's been validated. They all did well. And based on how they finished out the NRL season, the PRS season, validates the people that were in the AG Cup. But next year, the PRS is going to run it because they're national. They're all over the country. We've got matches all the way from California all the way back over to the East Coast in Tennessee for AG Cup qualifiers. So it's going to kind of run like a regional qualifier. If you shoot 3 AG Cup qualifiers, your top 3 scores qualify you for the AG Cup. So the PRS is running that, and I'm glad because I don't want to arbitrarily have to pick again because I'm not good at math. And everybody's going to call me out on how that works. And, you know, he shouldn't have been there. He should have been there. Anyway, it all worked out. It's good. However, the AG Cup is mine. I can do however I want to do it. And I told Shannon, I said, this is my match. It's not going to be a PRS match. It's going to be just the match however I feel like running it. If, you know, I've thought of everything from letting everybody bring as many guns as they want. I mean, a golfer has a bunch of clubs. There could be a 2-mile stage, and there could be a 400-yard, barricade stage. Pick which gun you think is going to win that stage for you. We're not going to do that. It was just an idea, but there's a million ideas. But me and Scoutten has talked a lot about it, and John has a lot of good ideas about how to keep how they started, the whole intent of this, and to push the sport forward to make it good and make it TV worthy, and to continue to bring people in to support the event and support the sport as a whole. So the competitors next year will be chosen through the PRS. And we want to, I can't fill in all the blanks just yet, but if I'd listened to Christy, I would have had all these filled in yet already, but I don't. But we want to make it larger. And I really have the idea, and this will be out soon because I know people are signing up now for the AG Cup, and I feel like I owe them a little bit of clarity on what they're signing up for. But I would like to do something like to involve more people, but to make it TV friendly, it's got to neck down. And John's got to be able to focus on the top people to say, these are the guys that you got to look at, and those personalities go forward. So what if we had a 3-day match and we had 50 people, and every day was almost like a World Series? After day 1, it cut to the top 25. It was a whole nother match. Everybody starts at 0. And after day 2, it goes to the top 10. And the third day is the top 10 shooters in one match. Everybody starting back at 0. So you got to bring it every day. But, that's just one idea that we have. And we'll figure it out. And within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have, the outline put out. So the people that are involved in this are going to understand what to expect for the 2020 AG Cup. However, the AG Cup qualifiers all through the country, you're paying up to shoot that. And every one of those is money payouts. It's more expensive, but if you feel like you can do it, you're going to get paid. It's going to be, you're going to be cash. You're going to be solvent to the AG Cup, not just trying to win it. And so is all you guys, like Jake, Brandon, Robert, Tate, you guys all going to do it again next year?
Yeah, I'm signed up for it. I'm running one of the AG Cup matches, so thanks for selecting me to, kind of help you out with that. So I got to find some more matches to go to. I have a couple on my calendar. Still need to get one more, but yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Great.
I'm going for everyone I can.
I'm absolutely going to sign up for it. That's going to be my main goal next year.
I'm still on the fence.
You're such a liar.
Yes.
Well, hey, it's worth noting and pointing out to all of y'all, when we come across events that Shooting USA is already going to be covering that happen to be AG Cup qualifiers, there will be a certain element involved there with regard to, hey, you're here, you're shooting this, and you've paid into the AG Cup qualifier. Not just you guys, of course, but anybody who has. I'm going to be looking for those people, and not necessarily going to ruffle feathers, but at least going to ask the question, what do you think you're doing? How's it going to go for you? And that will be reported.
Yeah, no pressure, guys.
I love it.
Yeah, there we go. I know the match like this couldn't come together without sponsors, right? How valuable were those sponsors? And is there any in particular that you would like to thank, Tom?
Yeah, man, for sure. So, it's kind of, it's the weirdest thing. The biggest thing I didn't like about running a match, and I guess everybody that's running a match is like, you got to have sponsors. I want to back up a little bit, talk a little, just real quick. I want to mention something. you're running a match that you're giving away 50 grand roughly. With last year 41, next year's going to be more than that. We think we can give away significantly more. And one of the biggest things these guys are concerned about is it going to be during the rut? I mean, are you kidding me?
No, it's for real.
That's
Hey, look,
a real
I hunt-
question.
Yeah, I know, man. I hunt too, and I'm all about it. But here in Georgia, you know, we have a 4-month hunting season, so it's not that big a deal, you know. You miss a few days here and there. So I've learned to make it work for everybody. But yeah, so we did this, and I really tried in talking to sponsors to go, hey, this. I tried to make them understand the vision for this. I tried to make the competitors understand the vision for this. I tried to make everybody understand the vision for what this is going to be and what it can be for our sport in general. And having John on board was a big deal. And I know that helped the sponsors get on board. However, you know, there were 6 companies that stepped up really big and says, man, we want to come in really hard and be a tier 1 sponsor and go above and beyond and not only pay $1,000 out to everybody, but also help just overall run the match with the venue and the food and all this stuff. And the first one, he's right here on the thing, is Tate. He's pulled up right now. I'm looking at him. Tate, owner of Impact Actions. And I don't know how many impacts were in the match. Tate, you know?
10.
10, okay. The top 20 guys are 10 Impact Action shooting. And he came in on the match as a tier 1 sponsor. And I hope it was worth it for him. And I was super had to happen. Hornady came in as a tier 1 sponsor, Foundation Stocks, which there were 6 of the competitors running Foundation Stocks. Is that right, John?
That's right.
All right, 6 of the competitors running Foundation Stocks. Kestrel came in as a tier 1 sponsor, which 100% of anybody that's ever shot a gun past 100 yards probably has one. Hoppies, great friends of ours, great friends of pretty much everybody that does this sport. They were there. And APA, American Precision Arms, who is known for their Fat Bastard and Little Bastard brakes, were also tier 1 sponsors. There were 20 other sponsors that came in at various levels, but those are the ones I wanted to highlight because those guys really came in, stepped up big, and made this event what it was. And my hope is certainly that through things like this and John's show, that it's worth it for them, and they're going to be chomping at the bit to come in again next year.
There we go.
Do you have dates for the match?
Whoa.
Yes, I do.
Serious.
Christy, what are they? Brandon, Hembree. Do you know what?
I think it's supposed to be Halloween or somewhere close to Halloween weekend.
Yeah, actually, I think it is going to be Halloween because here's the deal, y'all. We had dates because we're trying to deconflict with the PRS because they were running the qualifiers for us. It was during the rut, and then some of the guys that we definitely want to be there that shot it last year couldn't make it. And this sport revolves around kind of hunting, and so it's going to be Halloween weekend. So I know some guys are like, hey, I got little kids that want to go trick or treat, and I want to take them. I understand that, but there's probably
they're going to go trick or treating for like 20 grand. I mean,
yeah, well, there's probably going to be 70, 75 grand up for grabs next year. That's what we're shooting for.
You said what?
Whoa.
Yeah.
wow, I need to
of
learn
money.
how to shoot more faster.
Guys, I'm going to go dry fire. I'll see y'all later.
Hey, can we cut to Jake's check there? Can we go to Jake? If we can make Jake there. Jake, you got the check somewhere in there, but it says $20,000 on it, so you're
That's right.
there. So next year, Jake, if you can do a 2 for that thing, I'm hoping it'll say 50,000.
Oh,
And
I love that, obviously.
And that's if you think about it, guys, that's a lot of money.
Well,
Yeah.
and here's the deal too, is that we put in $1,000 of our own money, so that comes out of our pockets. But when we are able to perform well, that 20,000 is giant for for a guy like me. I got a wife and 2 little girls. I got a small business, and it's just a giant leg up. So for all the coordination, for all the advertising dollars, for all that kind of stuff, that's what a real sport is about. It's the same thing golf does. You have $1 million purse on golf, that's sponsor money, that's advertising money, and so they're able to feed their families and do that. And so a lot of people, they'll say, well, it's not necessarily all about the money. Well, it might not all be about the money, but man, it sure helps put food on the table. And so it's a giant blessing to, be able to shoot for that and work hard, and, some of the hard work does pay off. So again, thank you to you guys for setting all that up.
And start getting a lot of friends that you used to know in 5th grade, middle school, high school, sending your friend requests all of a sudden, and you're going to be like, hey, let me get 1,000, buddy. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Remember I drove you to skip class that day? Yeah.
Greg Moore says it's October 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Is that correct?
No.
We can
Shout out Greg Moore, inaccurate information.
There we go.
But shout out Greg Moore as the still photographer for the PRS and the AG Cup. Thank you, Greg Moore, for your assistance and your help, sir.
Yeah. Tom, the website for the AG Cup, and obviously you can follow AG Cup on all social media platforms. Just type in AG Cup on Facebook, yada, yada, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So there's not a website for AG Cup. We have a Facebook page, AG Cup, and everything's on there. It is Halloween weekend, and Greg, that's a very honest mistake because Shannon put that out there without asking me first. So
shout out Shannon Smith, president of the PRS, and
we could have done it those dates, but because it was Shannon, I just had to no, sorry, I can't do that, just because. I had to move it, just to kind of establish dominance.
That was dominance.
There we go.
But no, Shannon's, I hope this thing turns out great for the PRS as well and the shooting sport as a whole. And so far, I think so.
Boom. Yeah, there we go. I think we're going to wind this one here to down the shout outs, unless we have any live that came in. No, Greg, Jen, good?
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah, none on my side.
I envision seeing a lot of these guys back on the show so we can get to talk to them a little bit more individually. So we'll try to get you guys. We'll coordinate that. But this one here was all about the AG Cup. We appreciate you guys, man, really coming on here. I know we had some delays, probably run a little bit later than you thought you would. So thank you guys for coming on. And we'll kind of wind this one here down to shout outs. Tom, you kind of got yours out. So we'll just go to Robert. What do you got? Shout outs, man.
What, a shout out? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Let's some shout outs. What you got?
Man, huge thanks to Manor Stocks, obviously, Hornady, Bartline, Bushnell, Badger, all the people that hooked me up. Can't thank them enough. Trust them every day and don't look like I'm changing next year. So I'll see y'all there with the same stuff next year.
Go, Tate, what do you got?
Man, huge shout out to Impact. Those guys over there are really good guys. Shout out to Hornady. The A-tips are awesome. Foundation Stocks, Hawkins Precision, and Clay's Cartridge Company.
Go, Brandon. What do you got?
Man, I got back at Tate again for Impact Actions. Joe Walls for Exodus Rifles. APA for the brakes. Of course, Tom and Armageddon Gear for supplying the best swag on the planet, the best soft gear there is out there. Of course, Foundation has been a big part in mine. So, man, huge shout out to John and Amy over there. And anybody else, Bix and Andy, been pretty good.
I'm going to send another one to GA Precision, who also showed up to help.
Yo, John, what do you got, buddy?
Dude, shout out to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ before I say anything else. All the glory to
That's right.
God.
That's what I'm talking about.
Everything else is second. Thank you to Jim Scoutten for putting Shooting USA and the shooting sports in front of people for 26, almost 27 years. And from there, big shout out to Armageddon Gear and Tom Fuller, the man of action who made this happen. I'm a little bird that said, hey, I can do it if you can do it, and had no idea who I was tying my little boat to. So I'm thrilled. I can't wait for y'all to see it. If you don't see it on Outdoor Channel, shootingusa.com, and you can watch it the following Thursday.
Jen, what do you got?
Prime Ammunition for making great ammos. They have made in the USA now, doing some crowdfunding, some different things. So check them out. Macmillan Stocks for a gorgeous, beautiful A10 gun. Night Force Optics, Warren, Scope Mounts, Under Industries for great jerseys. Check them out. Veteran owned. Shooters of Augusta and Sharpshooters of Augusta.
Dang, that's some pro shooter sponsors right there. List of sponsors there from Jen.
Hey, and I enjoyed Greg's match a lot, and like I came in second by one impact.
Bang!
One impact, I would have won the match, but I might or might not have beat the match director with his rifle.
Ouch!
She did quite badly. That's. Never mind. I'm not even going to downplay say how bad I shot. She shot awesome with.
I don't have a 22.
Greg,
Do what?
you have a jersey, bro?
I know, but her jersey has more things on it.
Yeah, but if you have a jersey, I've got a Zippo.
Hey, you thought it was bad finding out you were Spro. You know what I saw that day? I'm a marksman.
But here's the thing. Marksman didn't do anything unsafe. Marksman completed the course of fire.
Exactly.
I can't say anything because he was my amateur the first year at Gap Grind. They made me shoot pro, and I was scared to death. And I was like, "Oh my God, you have to be my amateur!" And he'd never shot long range, so there's that.
Yeah, no, I'm still a newbie. Not what year is it? 2019. Not 2019 Gap Grind. 2018 Gap Grind was my first long range match, and like 4 months before. No, it was less than that. Probably 3 months before that was the first time I shot over 100 yards. So
there you go. Boom. What do you got as far as shout outs?
Shout outs. I have Shooters and Sharpshooters of Augusta, Overwatch Defense, PDC Custom if you want like a super awesome lime green chassis. Normal colors are also available. NDZ Performance, Phone Scope, Shooters World Powder, and Hunters HD Gold.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, let me second Hunters HD Gold and PDC Custom. Solid.
Yes, two awesome.
Vibbert did give a shout out.
What was that?
Jake, did you shout out?
Not yet. Nope. I'm just waiting for my call.
There you go, Jake. Go ahead.
All right, sounds good. I just want to give a shout out. US Optics, obviously my scope sponsor, Zero Delta mounts, XLR chassis, Alamo Precision Rifles does all my gunsmithing. Curtis Custom Actions for my action. Benchmark Barrels, I run their new cut rifle barrels. Hornady, obviously I run the A-tips. I already gave them a shout out. APA for my muzzle brakes. Trigger Tech for my triggers, and Swanee's Comp Gear for making the best steak in the world.
2 seconds
Swanee's
Comp Gear and the zing.
Because you know he's watching, and he's like, "Hey man, you gotta give me a shout out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I will." Swanee comes in and he goes, talking about sponsors. He goes, "Dude, I want to cook steak." I'm like, "All right, dude, you got to buy them, but you can cook them." He goes, "I'm on it." So, I mean, that was just how the sponsors did for this event, man. And and they're already hitting me up for next year. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be more fireworks. Awesome. Big money.
Yep.
More fireworks.
Yep.
Who was in charge of the fireworks?
Last shout out for me or I guess 2 shout outs, obviously, John and his crew there. Just, huge thank you guys. I know it's a lot of work and you guys are, really going above and beyond. So thank you, because that's going to help, drive the sport, and it's going to help make a lot of shooters look really good. So, definitely thank you for you and your crew, and obviously Tom, AG Cup, owner of AG Gear, and it's, the gear that I run as well. So I'm just super thankful for him for putting together.
I think we got everybody. It's just me left, but just want to leave us with a tune. Robert, if you can play us a little tune on the guitar, man, and that'll do it.
No.
That'll do it for episode. That'll do it for episode.
It just happens to be in his hand.
I need Fuller up in here.
Dude, Fran is here.
Yeah.
That's my man right there.
280 of the Shooter's Mindset. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead with it.
See you, bud.
All right, man. Play it. Go ahead.